CEO's little girl ran to the janitor. "They beat my mum, she's dying." His secret skill shocked everyone. The morning rush at Kingsworth Enterprises was the same as always, heels clicking, suits flashing, and no one daring to make eye contact with the janitor. Eli Turner moved silently through the marble halls, mop in hand, invisible to the powerful. He'd been there for 3 years, a quiet, greying man in his 50s with kind eyes and a limp. No one ever asked why he walked that way until that day. It started with a scream. A small, trembling voice echoed through the lobby. "Help, please, somebody help my mommy." Heads turned. A little girl, no older than 6, burst through the glass doors, her pink backpack swinging wildly. Her knees were scraped, her pigtails half undone. Lila, one of the receptionists, gasped, "That's Mr. Hawthorne's daughter!" Lila's words tumbled out between sobs. Some men came. "They hurt Mommy. She's in the car. She's not moving." Executives froze. Phones came out, but nobody moved. Nobody wanted to touch the CEO's child or get involved in a domestic situation. Nobody, except Eli. He dropped his mop and ran. Through the doors, down the marble steps, straight to the parking lot where a woman lay slumped beside a black SUV. Blood matted her hair. She was breathing, barely. "Call an ambulance," Eli shouted. He tore off his janitor's jacket, pressing it to the wound on her side. His hands didn't shake. They knew what to do. Lila clung to him, sobbing. "Please save her, please!" Eli's voice was calm. "I've got her, sweetheart. I won't let anything happen." When the paramedics arrived, they were startled by what they saw. The janitor had stabilized her bleeding, cleared her airway, and even used his belt to stop internal swelling. It wasn't luck. It was training. By the time Mr. Hawthorne, the CEO himself, rushed out, his wife was already on the stretcher. He barely noticed Eli at first, but when the paramedic said, if it weren't for this man, she wouldn't be alive, the entire crowd turned. Eli just nodded once, wiping his hands. "Just did what needed doing." Mr. Hawthorne blinked. How did you know all that?" Eli hesitated, eyes distant. "I used to be a field medic, U.S. Army, Afghanistan. I just..." "Stop talking about it." The CEO's face softened. "You saved my family." Weeks later, when Mrs. Hawthorne returned home, she personally asked to meet Eli. Lila ran into his arms like he was family. Mr. Hawthorne invited him to his office, the same office Eli had cleaned for years without ever being seen. He expected a handshake. Instead, the CEO slid a folder across the desk. "Eli, I want you to head our new emergency response training program. Medical, safety, first aid, all of it. No one should freeze when lives are at stake." Eli's eyes welled up. "Sir, You saved my wife," Hawthorne said simply. "Now, let's help you save others." 6 months later, every Kingsworth employee, from intern to executive, knew who Eli Turner was. He wasn't the janitor anymore. He was the man who acted when no one else did. And every morning, a little girl in a pink backpack would wait by the lobby doors just to give him a hug. The days after the rescue felt strange for Eli. He was used to being invisible, to blending into the shine of the floor and the hum of the vacuum. But now, people saw him. They greeted him, smiled even. The executives who once walked past like he was furniture stopped to shake his hand, but Eli wasn't comfortable with the attention. He'd seen too much in life to crave the spotlight. One afternoon, as he was finishing a safety training for the office staff, little Lila peeked into the conference room. "Mr. Eli," she said, holding a crayon drawing behind her back. "I made something for you." He knelt down. "Let's see it." She proudly handed him a paper covered in bright colors, a stick figure of her mom, dad, herself. And Eli standing tall, a big red heart drawn over his chest. Her handwriting was clumsy but clear. "My hero." Eli's throat tightened. "You're the brave one, Lila. You ran for help when it mattered." She shook her head. "No, you didn't wait. Everyone else just looked." Those words stayed with him for days. A week later, The company hosted a small ceremony. Nothing flashy, just a gathering in the lobby. Mr. Hawthorne took the mic. "Sometimes," he said, "a man's job title hides the kind of heart he has." Eli reminded us that humanity doesn't need a promotion, it needs action. The applause was thunderous, but Eli stood still, humble as ever. He didn't need trophies. He just hoped his story would make others care a little more. After the ceremony, Mr. Hawthorne pulled him aside. "I did some digging," he said quietly. "You left the army because of what happened to your unit." "I'm sorry, Eli. I can't imagine the weight you carry." Eli looked down. "I couldn't save them. And I thought maybe if I just mopped floors long enough, I could forget." The CEO placed a hand on his shoulder. "You saved my family, Eli. You honored your brothers by doing what they trained you for, saving lives." Eli exhaled deeply, like something heavy inside him finally lifted. Months passed, and the emergency response program became a model across multiple branches of the company. Eli trained hundreds of employees, teaching them CPR, crisis response, and, most importantly, how not to freeze when someone's in pain. Evenings, he'd find little Lila waiting near the janitor's closet, sitting on his bucket like it was a throne. "Mom says, I can be your helper," she'd grin. "I'm good at Band-Aids." He laughed every time. "Then you're already better than most doctors." But one night, long after everyone had gone home, Eli stood alone in the empty lobby. He looked at his reflection in the polished floor, the same place he'd once felt small and unseen. Now, it reflected something else. "Peace," he whispered softly to the quiet hall. "Guess I found my purpose again." A few months later, on Veterans Day, the local news aired a story titled, "The Janitor Who Saved the CEO's Family." Eli watched it from his small apartment, smiling shyly as they showed a clip of Lila hugging him. The reporter ended the segment saying, "Heroes don't always wear uniforms, but sometimes they still carry the heart of one." Eli turned off the TV and sat by the window. Outside, the city lights glimmered, each one to him a reminder of lives worth saving. He whispered to himself, "Not bad for an old mop man." Then he smiled, and for the first time in years, it reached his eyes.